Princess Anne just did something that might change the British monarchy forever, and honestly, what happened behind those palace doors is absolutely wild. Picture this. Prince Harry shows up with a DNA test, thinking it's going to settle everything, and instead, Princess Anne basically throws it back in his face, saying private labs have zero authority over royal bloodlines. Now, before you think this is just another family drama, wait until you hear what investigators found on Archie's birth certificate, because that's where things get legitimately bizarre. According to reports, there's a missing signature that's supposed to be on every royal birth since Queen Victoria's time, and when officials started digging deeper, they allegedly discovered something that sent shockwaves through the entire constitutional system. So what exactly did they find, and why is Parliament now scrambling to rewrite centuries-old laws? Stick with me because this story has more twists than a Netflix series, and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of these details. When Harry submitted that private DNA memorandum, he probably thought he was being proactive, right? Like, here's the proof, case closed, everyone can move on. But here's the thing about royal protocol that most people don't understand. The monarchy doesn't operate like a normal family where you can just grab a home test kit and call it a day. Princess Anne, who's known for being absolutely no-nonsense when it comes to tradition, immediately activated something called the Sovereign Succession Security Council, and I had to look this up because apparently this council hasn't been used in decades. We're talking about a group so exclusive and so secretive that even most palace insiders didn't know it still existed. Within hours, constitutional historians, forensic analysts, people from the College of Arms, and even a senior probate judge were assembled in London behind closed doors. Now you might be thinking, okay, that seems extreme for a DNA test, but according to sources, Anne wasn't just questioning the test itself. She was questioning whether the entire process around Archie's birth followed proper royal protocol, and that's where this whole thing spirals into territory that sounds like something out of a legal thriller. The Princess Royal then established what they're calling the Royal Lineage Ethics Commission, which includes legal scholars, church representatives, historians, and intelligence specialists, and their job is essentially to investigate whether succession rules were properly followed when Archie was born and registered. So what did this commission find? Well, allegedly, they started examining photographs from Meghan's pregnancy in 2019, and according to palace media analysts, there were unusual changes in her appearance over relatively short periods that didn't match typical pregnancy progression timelines. Now, I'm not a medical expert, and honestly, every pregnancy is different, so take that with a grain of salt, but investigators reportedly flagged this as inconsistent. Then comes the birth certificate situation, and this is where my jaw literally dropped when I first read about it. According to reports, Archie's birth certificate lacked the traditional signatures of royal medical officials, which has been standard practice since the Victorian era. Every royal birth is supposed to be formally witnessed or certified by recognized doctors connected to the monarchy, and apparently those signatures were just missing. But wait, it gets even stranger, because investigators claim the birth certificate was actually amended several weeks after the initial registration, allegedly replacing Meghan's legal name with a formal royal style. Now, people amend documents all the time for various reasons, but in the context of royal succession, officials apparently saw this as another red flag. And then, according to sources, financial records entered the picture. Allegedly, there was a wire transfer of approximately $49,900 sent to a medical service in Baja California shortly before Archie's birth announcement, and the payment memo reportedly referenced something called a gestational settlement, which investigators believe could indicate a surrogacy arrangement. Now let me be clear, surrogacy is completely legal and ethical, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but under traditional royal succession doctrine, this creates a constitutional problem because of something called the born of the body rule, which basically states that heirs must be physically born from the recognized royal consort under officially witnessed conditions. So even though Harry is biologically Archie's father, which DNA tests later confirmed beyond any doubt, the commission argued that biological parentage alone doesn't automatically grant succession rights if the birth circumstances don't meet these ancient requirements. Social media absolutely exploded when whispers of this investigation started leaking out, and honestly, the debate got pretty intense. Prince Harry, according to reports, traveled to Britain with both Archie and Lilibet, so DNA testing could be conducted under official supervision rather than through those private labs. And when the results came back confirming Harry's paternity, a lot of people thought that would be the end of it. But the Commission explained that under this born-of-the-body doctrine, the circumstances of birth matter just as much as biological connection. And because they believe the proper protocols may not have been followed, King Charles issued letters placing Archie and Lilibet's royal titles and succession status in suspension. Now that word suspension is important because it's not a permanent removal. It's essentially freezing their positions in the line of succession until Parliament or another lawful authority can properly review everything. This put Harry in an incredibly difficult position: stay in Britain as a private citizen using the Mountbatten-Windsor surname without royal privileges, or return to the United States while this suspension remains unresolved. Meanwhile, Prince William gave a speech that I think really captured the mood of a lot of people in Britain. He talked about how modernization is important, but it should never come at the cost of truth or constitutional principles. And honestly, his calm and measured approach seemed to resonate with the public because his approval ratings shot up to record highs. The Royal Lineage Ethics Commission then held formal hearings, and according to sources, witnesses included a royal photographer who presented those images showing the alleged irregularities in pregnancy timeline progression, a hospital official who stated that no royal obstetrician formally certified Archie's birth, and a banking compliance officer who testified about that financial transfer to the Mexican medical facility. Now Meghan launched her own media campaign defending her family, which I completely understand because if someone questioned my motherhood publicly, I'd be fighting back too. She did interviews, posted on social media, and one television appearance reportedly drew millions of viewers. But critics pointed out inconsistencies in some of her explanations regarding the financial records and medical documentation, so the public remained divided. What's fascinating to me is how this crisis spread beyond just Britain. Politicians across the Commonwealth started debating what this means for constitutional monarchy as a whole. Jamaica's Prime Minister allegedly cited the crisis as evidence that the country should reconsider its relationship with the Crown, and other nations expressed concern about how succession laws might affect their political systems. Within Britain itself, polling showed that a majority actually supported enforcing traditional succession rules, with people saying constitutional law should take precedence over family considerations. Princess Anne received particular praise for her strict defense of established legal procedures, and honestly, whether you agree with the outcome or not, you have to respect her commitment to protocol. The crisis eventually triggered actual legislative action in Parliament. Members introduced proposals to clarify succession law, and after debate, they passed a statute formally embedding that born-of-the-body rule into modern legislation. For the first time in British history, this centuries-old doctrine became explicit statutory law rather than just constitutional tradition. Supporters argued this creates legal certainty and prevents future disputes, while critics said it fails to reflect modern family structures like adoption and surrogacy. The monarchy also started exploring technological solutions to prevent similar controversies in the future. One proposal involves creating a secure digital royal birth ledger using blockchain verification to record medical and procedural details of future heirs, which sounds very futuristic, but makes sense when you think about how much confusion these unclear records created. As for the Sussex family, according to reports, several of their media and publishing ventures faced postponements or cancellations amid the legal concerns and public controversy. Prince Harry allegedly decided against pursuing further legal challenges, stating privately that he doesn't want to wage a legal battle against his own country over his children's status, which honestly seems like a heartbreaking position to be in. By mid-year, the monarchy appeared to have stabilized. Princess Anne's firm intervention, William's steady leadership, and Parliament's legislative action reshaped the constitutional structure governing royal succession, and while debate continues internationally, Britain largely accepted the outcome. So what does this all mean for the future of monarchy? Some people see these events as proof that ancient institutions can adapt while preserving tradition, showing that rules matter even when they're uncomfortable. Others argue that rigid adherence to historical protocols conflicts with evolving social values and modern family structures. I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. The monarchy clearly needed clearer rules because leaving everything to unwritten tradition creates exactly the kind of ambiguity we saw here. But at the same time, should an institution claiming to represent a modern nation be bound by rules written when medical technology and family structures were completely different? That's the question Britain is still wrestling with. What's undeniable is that this crisis forced the monarchy to redefine how legitimacy, law, and public trust interact in the 21st century. The royal family is now operating under a new legal architecture with clearer succession laws, improved record-keeping systems, and a renewed emphasis on constitutional duty over personal preference. Whether Archie and Lilibet will ever have their titles and succession rights restored remains an open question that only time and perhaps future parliamentary action will answer. This episode will likely be studied for decades as one of the most significant modern tests of the British monarchy's ability to balance tradition with contemporary expectations. And honestly, I don't think we've seen the last chapter of this story.